Hey guys, welcome back or welcome to my channel. So if you haven't seen I don't really post a lot of videos, but I feel like most of my stuff is about being a mom or my birth story and birth and labor related. So to introduce myself, um, this is my second baby. This is Kenai, and he's like 3 weeks now, basically. He's going on 3 weeks. And I just wanted to do I wanted to do a little bit of like my labor story and then also my postpartum experience, because I know like when I was pregnant still and when I just had a baby, with my first, I know that I loved hearing people's stories and like preparing myself in that way, even though everyone's story is so different. I love to hear them, and like, I don't know, that's just something I love, so I wanted to share that for you guys. I'm sorry if the angle's bad, but this is like how I've been lately. He's like, let's start with my labor. So my due date was October 28th. And basically, we had him early. He came October 24th, so I was 39 weeks and 3 days, which I wasn't expecting because with my first, I basically went 41 weeks. I was like 40 weeks and 6 days. My firstborn, Coda, was supposed to come March 28th, and he came April 3rd. So he basically was a whole week late. So I was kind of expecting him to come on due date or later again, because they always say like, however your first one was, like it's gonna be similar, not that different, maybe a little earlier. But the way that it was progressing for this one was what's wrong? Ooh, pause. Okay. I might have to take a lot of pauses because he is so much more clingy and I guess needy compared to my first. So we'll try to get through this. But basically I want to go through like how I progressed, because my first one, like I didn't know how to prepare for labor, and I learned a lot with the second one. So keep in mind that it might help that my firstborn, he's 1.5 years now. They're 1.5 years apart, basically. So with my firstborn, I had him, and then I waited till I think we were like 8 months postpartum, and we started trying, and then we conceived at like 10 months. So we got pregnant with him. My second one, I got pregnant with him when my firstborn was 10 months. So I think having them that close together kind of also might have contributed to me having this one a little bit early and making my birth smooth, because I don't know if it helped. That's just my thoughts, because my body, like, just not too long ago went through birth and all that. So everything, I don't know, I hear that sometimes it might be easier. Let me know if that's how it was for you, if you feel like having them close together helped with your pregnancies and your birth. But that's what I think. So with this guy, with my second labor, I think I want to say around the full term, when we hit 37 weeks, we checked for dilation, and I think we waited for, at 37 weeks, we checked the first time. 37 weeks, we checked the first time, I was a 2. She said I was like a 1.5, a 2 centimeter dilated, but she said I was 70% effaced, and that it was like thin. And that was it, really. I wasn't really getting any symptoms. As far as what I was doing, once I hit 35 weeks, I tried to start walking more. I've always been kind of naturally active. I was not going to the gym, but like at work, I'm a teacher and like we walk all the time. And I I was going on little walks, like walking the dogs, checking the mail, like every day, trying to just be like naturally doing stuff. And then, so I was 2 centimeters dilated at 37 weeks. Then a week went by, and so I was 38 weeks, and we decided, we checked again. I'm getting my timeline mixed up. No, we didn't do it at 38 weeks. Oh my gosh, I'm all mixed up. So at 38 weeks was our first time checking, and I was at a 2. And I had no other symptoms besides what the doctors were telling me, that I was already dilated. So after 38 weeks, I started going on walks because she said curb walking, all that stuff, whatever. So I started doing curb walking, walking for long walks, squatting, lunging, all this stuff. From 38 weeks onward, I was like just experiencing like more discharge. I think my mucus plug was like slowly going. I never had a bloody show, which I did with my first. So at 39 weeks, we decided, let's check it again. And I was going to do a membrane sweep. So I was like 39 weeks in like a day. I think I was 39 weeks in one day. I had a doctor's appointment scheduled. So I waited for that appointment. And I told them when they checked my cervix that I wanted to do a membrane sweep. So on 39 weeks and a day, they checked me again. I was a 3. So in that 1 week, I gained 1 centimeter. And then she did the membrane sweep that day. Went to my parents' house. We had dinner. I told my mom that I really wanted to like walk and like take it serious and start getting stuff going. So we had dinner. We went for a longer walk where I was curb walking and squatting and like just trying to do as much as I can. And then that night I was doing my homework. It was a Wednesday night. So I was doing my homework and it was due at midnight. So I was up pretty late. It was like 10:30 o'clock or like almost 11, and I like started feeling cramps. I was like, I think these are like, I was questioning if it was gonna like a contraction because I don't know. Contractions are like, I was always having Braxton Hicks, and my Braxton Hicks with Kenai were so much different than with Coda because he's so much bigger. My second pregnancy, I was a lot bigger and he was like moving a lot, and I feel like I was having more pains and discomfort from him. So I was kind of questioning things more this time because I was like, is that him hurting me or is that something else? So I started feeling cramps around like 10:30, 11 o'clock, and my husband was already asleep. I was like, you know what, I'm gonna finish my homework assignment. If anything's happening today, like I need to have that submitted. So I was over here worrying about my homework, and they were definitely, now that I know, they were contractions, but they were like the very, very, very beginning ones. um I downloaded the contraction timer app, and then I started timing them just in case they were. So they started off like really short, and it was like barely a cramp. I thought I heard something. But so they did start, and it was like 30-second long, 15-second, like they were super short, and they were happening like 15 minutes apart. So at this point, I texted my mom. She lives down the street. I texted her and I was like, I think something might be happening. I was like, I'm not sure, but just so in case it is something, that you can like be ready. She would be the one going to the hospital with us. He's so loud. So then I texted my mom and I was like, things might be happening. And so it was like 11 o'clock. 15 minutes apart. I was doing my homework. I submitted my homework and I was like, you know what? I'm going to try to lay down. And if I lay down and I can feel them and they're like are waking me up, or like I feel them in my while I lay down, then I was like, okay, then I'll know if they're contractions. And sure enough, they kept going. So they were consistent. They were staying at like 15 minutes, 15 minutes. And I was using that timer. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to tell my mom to come over, because she offered to stay the night at my house. In case we did need to go, she could just come get up and go with us. So my mom came around like 12 midnight. She came, stayed here, and I was going through the contractions upstairs by myself because I wanted to wait. You know, if you go to the hospital too soon and you're not dilated, or they're not 5 minutes apart every minute or whatever it is, then they would just send you home. So there's no point in like getting people excited if it's not the real thing. So I was kind of pushing through them all night. And my firstborn, so I'm asleep with my husband in my room and I'm going through them quietly, and then my firstborn wakes up on the monitor and he wakes up my husband. And then my husband's like not really aware of me because he heard my baby crying, so he just goes to the Coda's room, which is my firstborn. So he goes to Coda, and while he's in Coda's room, I was already texting him, saying like my mom's coming, and I texted him if he had his phone on him because he was in the baby room, and we usually take our phones because we let each other know like if he went back to bed or not. And he's like, yeah, why? And I was like, I think it's happened. Like I think it's starting and it's happening. Like I've been contracting since 11 o'clock or whatever it was. And he was like, really? And whatever. So then when he put him back to bed, he came to me and he's like, okay, well, I'm gonna wake up Duck, like his sister-in-law who lives here. She was gonna watch Coda. So like it kind of started from there. We started getting like things ready for the hospital in case we were gonna go. So we packed our hospital bag. Well, it was already packed, but we like were putting that to the car, getting my blanket, making sure our firstborn was okay. Which also, my baby Coda, my firstborn, it's like he knew something was happening because he would not go back to sleep. And my husband said that when he woke up during my contractions, he was calling for me and saying mama, like mama, and crying. And that's kind of odd for him. Like he doesn't usually want me in the middle. I mean, like he wants somebody, but he doesn't say my name like that. So it was kind of different. And we thought maybe he just like knew something was happening. But yeah, so then he wouldn't go back to bed. So us trying to leave was really hard. He was ended up having to be with our sister-in-law, and her best friend came over, and so they had the baby. Me, my mom, and my husband went to the hospital at like, it was like 2:30 when we left. It was 2:30 a.m. when we actually left the house. Got to the hospital like 3 a.m. We had to go through check-in. I'm still contracting. They're kind of slow, but still happening. And they were starting to hurt, like if I was standing or sitting. Honestly, anything, I was like in pain a little bit, but they weren't like unbearable. So I was a little nervous that we went already, but whatever. And they take you first through triage and they check your cervix. And she said I was like still a 3. She said I was a 3, which was the same as what I was when well, that makes sense. It was like the same as what I was at my thing, but I thought I was progressing because of the contractions, but I guess I wasn't. So she was like, you are not having strong contractions. And then she also said that the baby wasn't moving a lot in my stomach. He was like sleeping or something, and she said that that was weird since I was going through contractions. So she said they weren't strong enough. So they were trying to send me home basically. She's like, this is what they did my first time. She was like, okay, I'm gonna have you walk for an hour straight, and then we're gonna check you again after your walk, and then we'll go from there. And like if I didn't dilate or if they didn't become stronger, that I would basically go home. And then if something did happen and we did progress, then they were like, okay, then we would keep you. So my husband and I took We always take our walks very serious. With our firstborn, it was like the same story. You'll have to watch my first delivery. I think it was like 6 a.m. when we started our walk, and then by 7 we would be done. So we went walking like circles of the hospital, and then occasionally like corner hallways we would stop and we would do squats and like lunging and stuff. But my husband was like making me like speed walk, like I couldn't keep up with him, so we were taking it serious. And so we're walking and doing all this stuff, and then 7 o'clock hits. We go back towards the room, and they were becoming more painful. Like I had to like stop talking. People would talk to me, and I was like, I can't breathe. Like I'm literally going through contractions. So when she checked me, I was sick. So she was like, "Oh my gosh." She's like, "Yeah, you're staying." And then from there we got admitted. I had went to my room, and they once I got to that room, they started becoming really painful, and then I had to wait. I feel like I waited a lot longer than my first one, but I had to wait for that epidural, and I was like, yeah, I'm taking the epidural. My firstborn I did it with an epidural, and I loved it. I loved my experience, so I took the epidural. And then once I got the epidural, I feel like everything was kind of slow. Cause I don't know what time it was. I think it was like 9 or 10 in the morning when I got the epidural. And then from there it was just a lot of waiting, and going through the contractions. And I experienced like a lot of weird stuff this time around. I don't want to TMI, but like basically when he's so funny. I don't know if he's like, "Mom, shut up. This is too much," or what. But so I got my epidural, and I'm in my bed. My mom and my husband are just with me, like waiting it out, going through it with me. Once I got the epidural, they weren't that painful, but I definitely still felt them. And when my epidural would wear off, I was kind of like, I don't know. I was always scared to like get more and press the button, so my nurse would do it usually for me. But it was really slow progression, and so we were like waiting hours and hours, and then it finally got closer to a point where I was like 8 centimeters dilated, and my nurse was like, okay, your doctor's gonna go back to her what's it called, the OBG's office. She's like, and she'll be back, like, you aren't ready to push yet, you're not at a 10. And she's like, if you feel like you have to poop or like whatever that feeling, she's like, then call us. And I was like, okay. So she just barely leaves, and I swear I was like, oh my gosh, like I felt like I had to poop, and I felt this feeling, and I was telling my husband, I was like laughing thinking it was actual poop. And like also I was like, it felt like I was peeing. I didn't know if my water was breaking or what it was. I think they had already broken my water, but like I just kept feeling like fluids, and it was just super different from my first. And I was like, I feel like I have to poop. And then this one nurse came who wasn't my actual nurse. She's like, okay, but does it come and go away when contractions happen? And I was like, well, I guess, yeah. Like when a contraction came, it was a stronger urge. And then when the contraction was done, it kind of lightened up, but I still felt it there. I was like, I don't know. It's a really gross feeling to explain, because I was like, I just feel like I have to poop. And I feel like it's right there. And sure enough, that was me. Like, that was the baby's head right there. And it was the feeling of having to poop was like my body wanted to start pushing him out. Like I was just ready. So I finally called a nurse, and I was like, she said if I feel like I need to poop, or if I feel this feeling, that like to call her. And I was like, it feels like that. And she's like, okay, we'll send someone. So then they send the nurse, and she's like, okay, what's going on? Like I just got back. My original girl came back, and she checked me, and she's like, okay, like, yeah, like you're at a 10. She's like, but your doctor's not here. She's like, try to hold it, like don't push. And I was like, I'm not trying to push. I was like, but it feels like it feels like I really need to, whatever. So then she literally puts my body flat. She tries to work against it. So they put my body flat and like my legs back down and try to like not incline myself so that it was harder to naturally just like push. And we were literally waiting for, it felt like an hour in my head. I don't know how long it really was. I'll have to ask my husband, but we had to wait for my doctor to get back in order for me to push. And then when she came, I don't know how many pushes it took, but it was just like beautiful. It was easy. We pushed him through. The pushes did not hurt. With him, I did not tear. With my firstborn, I did tear like a little bit. I forgot how they describe it, but I did. And then with him, I did not tear. And as far as that, I don't know if it's because I already had one not too long ago, or if it's because with him, I definitely drank. I did like all the foods and the drinks, so that was amazing. And I got my placenta encapsulated, so right now I'm taking my placenta pills. So as far as the birth story, we finished that. He came out at 7 pounds and 11 ounces, and he was 21 inches. So he was healthy. I was good. We stayed for 1 full day. So since he came at 3 p.m., we had to stay one whole night and day until 3 p.m. the next day, and I was cleared to go home. And now here we are, like basically 3 weeks later. So everything's been going good. I think actually what I will do, because I don't want this to be too long, I think I'm gonna make this just my labor story, and I'll do a whole video on postpartum, because as far as postpartum, there's like several things that I've been doing, and several factors that I feel like I want you guys to be able to have, like, if you have specific questions, I just want to answer what you want to know. So I'll make that its own video, and this will just be the labor and the birth story. But yeah, it went really smooth, and I'm very blessed and thankful that we didn't have any problems or complications, and that he got to come home with us right away. So yeah, if you have any questions, leave them in the comments, or I just hope, if you are pregnant, I wish you the best on your journey, and I wish that everything goes smooth and safe, and that you feel peace, because I know when I was watching videos like this, I was towards the end and I was just very over it. So I hope you find peace and comfort during the wait, and just know that when babies like take longer, in my head I'm just like, well, they're just comfortable with you and they're happy with you and that they're healthy. So that's it for my video today. And yeah, if you want to see a postpartum video, or if you have any questions about postpartum or anything related to the mom life, I have 202, then leave it in the comments and let me know. But yeah, I'll see you guys next time, and that's it.